Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we are taking a total deep dive into the absolute extremes of human psychology. We're going to be exploring the profound and honestly kind of terrifying concept of sensory isolation. I mean, what actually happens to the human mind when you strip away the world as we know it? No light, no sound, no regular rhythms of day and night. Well, we've got an incredible story lined up for you today that starts deep underground in the 20th century, and as you'll see, ends up somewhere much, much closer to home.
I really want you to picture this scenario for a second. Imagine stepping into total pitch black isolation. You don't have your watch. There's no sun to tell you if it's morning or evening. There are no sounds of traffic, no birds chirping, just endless, heavy darkness. It's a completely visceral scenario, right? If you were entirely cut off from the outside world like that, how long do you think it would take before your mind started to lose its grip on reality? A week? A month? Well, today's explainer traces the story of a guy who willingly decided to find out, and the shocking discoveries he made about how our brains actually perceive reality. So the year is 1972. A French geologist named Michel Siffre decides to descend into Midnight Cave down near Del Rio, Texas. And his goal? To spend an astonishing 180 days in total isolation to study the human biology clock. He enters this pitch-dark environment with absolutely zero connection to the outside world. No clocks, no solar markers, nothing. And his perception of time shattered almost immediately. By the time 63 days had actually passed, Siffre firmly believed it had been nearly a month less. When the 180-day experiment finally wrapped up and his team came to extract him, his internal calendar was completely stuck on day 151. He had literally lost a month of his life to the darkness.
Okay, let's dive into this because the physiological drift here is just remarkable. Without daylight and environmental time cues, Siffre's body completely abandoned the standard 24-hour day that you and I live by. His biological clock slowed down so drastically that he fell into a spontaneous 36-hour sleep-wake cycle. He'd stay awake, roaming around his tiny underground camp for up to 36 hours straight, and then crash into a super deep sleep for 12 hours. He was consistently underestimating how much time had passed, living this weird, physically stretched-out existence simply because the environment gave him zero clues to anchor him.
The reason this happens comes down to what scientists call Zeitgebers. It's a German term, literally translates to time givers. These are your external time cues, things like sunlight hitting your retinas in the morning, having a regular meal schedule, your daily work routine, or just chatting with a coworker. These Zeitgebers constantly synchronize your internal clock with the real world. Without them, your circadian rhythms just begin to drift aimlessly. And as Siffre found out the hard way, this drift doesn't just make you a little sleepy. It severely affects your memory, your attention, your decision-making, and even your baseline emotional well-being.
This prolonged solitude generated some stark, honestly terrifying insights into the fragility of the human mind under extreme confinement. Siffre himself described the grueling experience as a slow slide into madness. The isolation completely wrecked his mental faculties. He suffered from huge memory lapses, literally forgetting basic words mid-sentence. He experienced wild emotional instability, swinging violently from pure despair to sudden joy, and even started having vivid hallucinations. Deprived of human interaction, his brain's desperate need for connection drove him to record spoken notes just to hear a human voice. He eventually even tried to befriend the insects living in the cave, just to have some company. These findings were so profound that they actually became highly valued by NASA to help them understand how astronauts would cope in the isolated extremes of space.
Now, Michel Siffre had to travel to a literal cave in Texas to experience this level of sensory and temporal distortion. But what if I told you that you are willingly entering a very similar cave every single day, one that sits right inside your pocket?
Welcome to the digital cave. It might not be pitch black, but it isolates your senses and distorts your reality just the same. Modern AI algorithms are meticulously designed to recreate a time-distorting, mind-altering isolation by hijacking your brain's reward system. Just as Siffre was cut off from the physical world, when we drop into an endless feed, the world around us just fades away. We lose our physical Zeitgebers, we ignore the setting sun, we delay our meals, we completely mute our social interactions with the people sitting in the exact same room, all to stay inside the glow of the screen.
To really understand the architecture of this digital cave, we've got to look at the neuroscience. A neuroscientist named Wolfram Schultz made this groundbreaking discovery about how our brains process rewards. It's called reward prediction error, or RPE. Here is what researchers found so surprising. Your brain doesn't actually chase pleasure. It chases prediction. Dopamine neurons respond most strongly when an outcome is slightly better or maybe more surprising than you expected. This means your brain is constantly, obsessively asking, what is coming next?
And this brilliantly illustrates why the smartphone screen is the absolute ultimate delivery system for this psychological mechanism. When you're scrolling through a feed, every single swipe of your thumb basically becomes a prediction. You're thinking, is this next video going to be funny? Will this post be interesting? When an unexpectedly engaging video pops up, bam, it creates that massive dopamine signal, the reward prediction error. It literally tells your brain, yes, keep searching, there's more unexpected reward just under the next swipe. It totally traps you in the pursuit of the unknown.
Now, unlike old-school television, where you just passively consume whatever happens to be on, modern recommendation systems are part of an aggressive, infinite feedback loop. The algorithm tracks your behavior. It sees how long you pause, what you like, even how fast you scroll. The AI learns from this data instantly, allowing it to make highly personalized predictions about what will capture your attention next, which then delivers perfectly surprising content. You get that hit of dopamine, and your motivation to keep scrolling becomes infinitely stronger. The terrifying reality here is that this AI learns and adapts to your desires way faster than your brain can build a defense against it.
Think about it. Sifra was in a cave with zero stimulation, which resulted in a complete loss of time perception. We are in a digital cave with hyperstimulation, and yet the result is exactly the same. The AI-powered feed continuously analyzes thousands of behavioral signals purely to generate that next reward prediction error. And what happens? You sit down to look at your phone for just 5 minutes, and suddenly, poof, 2 hours have vanished. Your internal clock is completely overridden by the algorithm. Just like Sifra, your brain drastically loses the ability to measure the passage of time.
So the crucial point is that this isn't just some harmless habit. It is physically impacting your brain. Repeated exposure to this highly stimulating, algorithmically perfected content gradually reshapes your attention and your reward processing centers. As your brain rapidly adapts to this constant stream of intense novelty and engineered surprise, everyday experiences, things like reading a book, going for a walk, or having a slow conversation, they suddenly feel way less engaging. Real life simply cannot compete with the optimized dopamine hits of the digital cave.
Because of this, we are now facing a massive modern attention crisis with cognitive consequences that really echo Michel Sifre's descent into madness. We're talking significantly reduced attention spans, way greater distractibility, compulsive checking habits, and a lot less motivation for slower activities. Look, Sifre experienced memory lapses and forgot words mid-sentence because he had absolutely no stimulation. Today, we are experiencing memory issues and brain fog because we are totally overloaded with it. The cognitive decline looks remarkably similar, even though the causes are basically perfectly mirrored opposites.
Michel Sifre willingly trapped himself in the dark. He lost his mind seeking connection in an empty cave, going as far as talking to bugs just to feel alive. Today, we have willingly entered our own digital caves. We hold infinite content and endless connections right in the palms of our hands, yet we're losing our minds feeling more isolated and disconnected than ever. It really forces us to ask ourselves, if the AI algorithm is the one keeping the time, who is really in control of our reality? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating topic with me, and I hope this explainer leaves you thinking deeply about the caves you step into today.